So you do like this, in my mind, it's a love. Nobody can do me anymore. Make things so loud. And I'm only, I'm only, I'm only, and I'm only one that gives you love. And I'm the energy, make things so loud.
Country akawa mau mau ya wale sana asa watu ni watu beje porque se não eu vou falar mas desse não precisa não se colabora that is one of my justices.
Oh God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where such a rush, my baby, slow down, come find your love. I'm hoping you see me, come serve it up. Loving when you stir it up, that body belong on TV. Oh, this feeling I can't hide. You're feeling up my mind, and I just don't know why.
Hello, good morning, all.
Good morning, sir.
Um, well, morning, my director. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Is Femi Olarinde online?
Yes, I can see he's on. Uh,
So we're just waiting
are we
for
good to
him. He's
go?
the moderator. He's the moderator, so we're just waiting for him.
Okay, all right then.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Recording in progress.
So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are about starting our webinar for today. We're glad to be here, and thank you all for joining. Uh, so I
Good morning, Femi.
Yeah, good morning, Ma. So
Yeah.
I want to start. We're starting right away. Then I'll do a background now before now inviting everyone on the floor. And so thank you very much all for joining today's webinar. We're starting right away. For decades, Nigeria's fiscal and administrative system have operated using fragmented identifier, including the national ID numbers, the bank verification number, the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC registered companies numbers, business name numbers, and tax identification numbers. We have even tested what we call the unique tax identification at the time. However, this fragmentation has created inefficiencies, duplication, and opportunities for tax evasion. The unified framework now seeks to harmonize these identifiers, ensuring that every taxpayer as an entity can be uniquely identified across all systems. And so Nigeria has officially begun moves towards implementing a unified tax identification framework, making a significant step towards integrating all personal and business identification systems into a single national database. And this reform is introduced under the Nigerian tax reform, which signals a new era of data-driven tax administration, fiscal transparency, and efficient revenue mobilization. On today's edition of our webinar, we will be exploring this new framework for tax identification. I will be having speakers speak on the legislative background. We'll have speakers speak on the policy issue. We will now be also speaking to the relevant tax authority through the Joint Tax Board and the Federal Inland Revenue Service on the efforts they are bringing to fore to ensure we have a seamless, and taxpayers have a seamless uh, uh, process in acquiring their unique identifier. What does that mean for us? Is it TIN? Is it a other unique form of identification? All this we will be extracting in today's edition of the webinar series. Thank you very much for being here. The CD, the coordinating director, special duties group, thank you for being here. Madam Lovett Ononuga, the director of taxpayer service, you're welcome. Every other person, the representative of the joint tax board, you're welcome. And every other dignitary on this platform, thank you for being here. And so we'll be starting right away. The agenda for today will be starting right away. And from my agenda, now we will be going into, from my agenda, okay, right now we will be going into the background and calling on the chief engager of our taxpayers in the Federal Inland Revenue Service. We'll be calling on Madam Lovett, Dr. Lovett Ononuga, to welcome us to this forum and tell us why we are here. Madam, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Femi Olarinde, for that opening statement. Good morning, the coordinating director, Mr. Shetima Tamadi. Please excuse me, I have a scratchy throat this morning. Distinguished participants, experts, colleagues, and esteemed stakeholders in the Nigerian tax system. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this very important seminar or webinar on the tax ID implications for compliance. This session comes at a very significant and critical moment in our evolving tax landscape as we continue to implement reforms aimed at simplifying compliance, broadening our tax base, and enhancing transparency within our system. As many of you are aware, recent tax reforms, as outlined by Mr. Femi Olarinde, the moderator, have introduced the mandatory use of the tax identification number as a central element in our tax-related and certain financial transactions. The TIN is not merely a number. It represents the unique digital identity that connects taxpayers to the national tax system. By integrating the TIN into business registrations, banking, and public procurement processes, the federal government seeks to create a more efficient, accountable, and inclusive tax administration framework. For us at the FRS and our partners at the state the use of the TIN enhances our ability to track compliance more effectively, to reduce duplication, and foster data-driven decision-making. For our esteemed taxpayers, it simplifies access to services, minimizes the burden of multiple registrations, and promotes fairness in the system. However, we are aware that in recent months, since the unveiling of the new tax laws by the president, there has been growing public debate and widespread misconceptions regarding the Nigerian tax ID, its purpose, issuance, process, and implications for individuals and businesses. Many Nigerians have expressed confusion about the relationship between the tax ID and the tax and other identification systems, such as the National Identification Number (NIN) and the National Identification Number (NIN) and Company Registration Number, as well as uncertainty about whether citizens without a tax ID can operate a bank account. Well, today I will we're here today to dissect, to explain and clarify all of this for our taxpayers. And so without much ado, I want to say that I encourage all participants to actively engage, to ask questions and share their insights as we navigate this very critical component of our tax modernization journey. We have on the panel today the head of Tax Automation Department, the head of Competent Authority Department, and a representative of the Joint Tax Board who will be x-raying all these concerns, and hopefully we will put them to rest by the end of today's seminar. Together, we can ensure that the adoption of the tax ID system strengthens trust between government and the people, compliance, and the overall integrity of Nigeria's tax administration. Once again, thank you for joining us, and I wish us all a very productive and enlightening session. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that words of encouragement and to let our taxpayers know why we are here today, and also to take away the misconception in the system with regards to the subject at hand. And at this moment, I'll be calling on the coordinating director of the Special Duties Group to give us, to welcome us and to give us an opening remark for this, to open the session officially. Thank you, Alhaji Shetima Tamadi. You have the floor.
Good morning, all. Thank you, Femi, first of all. Good morning, all. And I welcome all of you to this morning's webinar on the tax ID and its implications for compliance. As the director has rightly said before me, this is an opportunity for us to engage so that we can provide a detailed insight into a key requirement as far as tax compliance is concerned, basically on the issue of the tax identification or tax ID, as the case may be. This session is designed not only to explain or expose us to the legal requirements as provided in Section 4 of the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, but it's also an opportunity to gain insight into what kind of actions the service, in conjunction with other stakeholders, namely the JTB, have done so far to ensure that the subject is properly addressed and the tax ID is deployed to enhance efficiency, transparency, and greater accountability as far as tax administration is concerned in Nigeria. Several efforts have been made in the past, but most of them have not achieved the desired results. So this is a renewed effort. So much resources have been committed from the legislation aspect of it. Is now been properly captured in the law as provided for in the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. In respect to the aspect that has to do with technology and others, all those ones have been properly addressed so that we ensure that going forward, every taxable person is properly registered and also fully complies with the provisions of the tax law. So I must, at this junction, commend our various functions in the service that have come together to initiate this engagement. our officers in the Tax Repair Services Department, Communications and Liaison, Fiscal and Tax Reforms Division, Competent Authority, Technology, and all of others who have come together to ensure that every aspect as far as the subject of taxpayer identification is properly captured and explained to our taxpayers. It is our hope and expectation that at the end of this session, our taxpayers, officers, and all other stakeholders will have been properly enlightened so that we know our various roles and responsibilities, right? In as a taxpayer, what you need to do to register and comply, right? As tax officers, what we need to do in ensuring that we give the right kind of service to our taxpayers so that they can also comply. On the other aspect, the technology, what kind of platform have been provided to educate our taxpayers on how they go about registering and complying. So I encourage all of us to participate fully in this engagement exercise, fully understand the various presentations that will be done. Also use the opportunity that we have to ask questions for clarity. And in the overall at the end of it all, ensure that we all work towards a common goal, which is to ensure an efficient, right, and transparent tax system that works for all of us. On this note, I wish all of us a very, very interactive and successful engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for those words too, and giving also further background to today's webinar. Before I forget, this edition of the Taxpayer Webinar Engagement Series is brought to you by the Communication and Liaison Department, the Taxpayer Service Department, and the Fiscal and Tax Reforms Implementation Division. And this is to further communicate the provisions of the tax reforms to Nigerians, and especially issues that have come to fore. So we'll go ahead right now and we introduce our speakers. We have 3 speakers today. We will be getting the fiscal and legislative background of the tax ID. What is the tax ID? Why the tax ID? What laws give? What is the legislative background or framework for setting up a tax ID? We'll be hearing that from somebody who we call Mr. Kehinde Kajeshomo. He's a chartered accountant, a chartered tax practitioner, a tax administrator. He's a deputy director at the Federal Inland Revenue Service. He's a deputy director in the Competent Authority Department. He is an expert in international taxation and equally domestic taxation. Of course, he has over 2 decades of experience in taxation, accounting, and financial services. And so today he will be speaking to us. He's a seasoned tax legislation drafting. He's also a seasoned tax treaty drafter, and today he comes in and speaks to us about his wealth of experience and tell us all the policy background about the tax ID. And so Mr. Kehinde Kajeshomo will be joining us soon. Thank you for being on this call, Mr. Kehinde, and for sharing your wealth of knowledge with Nigerians. Thank you. Our second person, we have, because the tax ID is not just about FIRS, but before I go to the other body, we also have from the FIRS, Mr. Mike Adoga. Is a seasoned information technology professional with 2 decades of experience spanning software development, project and program management, digital transformation, strategic leadership, and is currently the acting director of the Tax Automation Department at the Federal Inland Revenue Service. where he is responsible for development and deployment of all taxpayer-facing technology solutions, including e-invoicing, the fiscalization, analytics, AI, and enhancement to the Tax Pro Max platform. So this man is the man to know when it comes to technology, innovations, and automation in FIRS. Mr. Michael Doga, welcome to the call. We now have from the subnational management, the people that coordinate the entire tax body in Nigeria. We call them the Joint Tax Board. Because when we talk about the tax ID, it's not just about taxes at the federal or national level, it goes across the subnationals. And so we're having somebody from the Joint Tax Board speak to us because the tax ID is a technology solution and innovation. And so we will be having somebody from the Joint Tax Board. And this person is also an ICT expert. Her name is Alima Dele Abubakar, a seasoned ICT professional with over a decade of experience in public sector technology transformation and a senior manager in the ICT department of the Joint Tax Board. She has played a pivotal role in driving digital innovation and harmonization efforts across Nigeria's tax administration landscape. We welcome Alima Dele Abubakar to this call, and she will be explaining the efforts Joint Tax Board is doing towards ensuring we have a seamless tax ID for taxpayers across the subnational. And so we will be calling them in to make their presentation later. But to start, we will start with Mr. Kende Kadeshomo, who will give us a presentation on the policy background and the legislative framework for the tax ID. Mr. Kadeshomo, you have the floor. You can share your screen. Thank you very much. Please, we want to make the call as short as possible, so please help manage time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lainde. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here to speak briefly on the tax identification. We are all aware, with the engagement we've had so far, substantially now we are aware why we have the changes we have in the tax law, because it's in a bid to strengthen tax administration, to strengthen our tax processes, to ensure that taxpayers are able to comply with the tax law voluntarily and easily, and also that the tax administration is able to enforce compliance when necessary and able to ensure an easy administration process. So that is why we have new provisions in the tax law now that deals with taxpayer identification. In short, tax ID. If you go back to the guiding principle of the Reform Acts that we have now, some of the guiding principle is simplicity. When we take it to the teen arena, the tax identification, we are looking at having a law that a taxpayer can easily register and comply with tax processes. Then we're looking at harmonization. So now, as we all know, we have fragmented team processes where sometimes FRS register, the state's internal revenue services are registering or giving different numbers, JTV is registering. Now, this law seeks to harmonize these practices and this team issued by this administration. So it's one of the key principles of this reform, to have a harmonized tax laws, but not just harmonized tax laws, but harmonized processes, which include the tax identification. We also create tax certainty for taxpayers. It's one of the guiding principles. And you can imagine if a taxpayer have multiple tax identification number, you can imagine the type of certainty such taxpayer will be able to get. Then we're talking of modernization, and when after listening to our team of experts here today, especially from FRS Automation and from the JTB, you will agree with us that this reform is to harmonize or modernize our processes, which include the TIN registration and administration process. Then to have efficiency of compliance, and of course to align with global best practices. Those are the frame or principles that guided the reform that gave birth to the four tax bills or the four tax acts. What are these new tax acts? We have the Nigerian Tax Act 2025, which is the law that imposes taxation in Nigeria. We have the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, which is a law that consolidates all administrative provisions for all taxes. So when you are looking at how to register as taxpayer, how to file your returns, how to make payments, all those administrative processes are covered under the new Nigerian Tax Administration Act. And we all agree that generating a TIN or registering a business is under tax administration. So in that regard, everything you need to know about about your TIN processes is covered under the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. Then we have the Nigerian Revenue Service Act, which reestablished the Federal Revenue Service as Nigerian Revenue Service, and we have the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act, which now provide for the harmonization of practices of the tax authorities, and also create a platform for the tax authorities to work together. And that's one of the things we are seeing today, where the tax administrations under the auspices of the Joint Tax Board are coming together to launch a new TIN process that is seamless, that is efficient, and that will ensure that taxpayers are able to comply easily with their tax obligations. So what are the key changes in the tax laws? We have consolidation of tax types. We have simplification of administrative processes, which include the TIN or the tax ID processes. We have the unified filing and payment system. We have integrated and enforcement of penalties, and we have harmonized tax identification process. Now, which maybe we are leaving the concept of TIN that we should know into the concept of tax ID. So the tax identification now, instead of being called TIN, under the law is called tax ID. Then we have consistency to ensure consent and coordination across authorities. So those are the key changes we expect to see in the law that are actually embedded in this law, and that is also underpin the tax ID that we are discussing today. So the Nigerian Tax Administration Act introduced a harmonized tax identification framework, which establishes a unified mechanism to which every taxable person, every individual, corporate, resident, non-resident are going to be recognized and tracked for tax purposes. The harmonization of the tax ID will support a broader goal for government to create an integrated database. Some of us, we talk about different fragmented databases. Now, the idea behind this harmonization is to create a unified, a harmonized, and integrated database where each and every tax administration can adopt or use to facilitate compliance, monitoring, and enforcement across all the tiers of government. This new law, the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, the requirement for tax ID is contained in 7 sections of the law, from section 4 to 10. So that's underpin, or that's explain how important tax ID is in this dispensation, for it to have 7 sections. In fact, when you add the penalty section, which is section 100, we are talking of 8 sections in the NTA that deals with tax identification. Now, what are those provisions in this new law? We have Section 4 that require every taxable person, whether it's an individual, a partnership, a company, or enterprise, to register. So those categories of persons are required to register with the relevant tax authority, whether FRS or state IRS. The moment you register once, you have registered for all. So now you don't need to first go to a state IRS, register there, then come to FRS to register for VAT purpose. The moment you register once, you are registered, and that identification can be used for all your, whether you want to file returns to the state IRS or you want to file your VAT returns. That thing, that tax ID will suffice for all tax-related activities. So taxpayers are expected to register, then obtain the tax ID for the purpose of fulfilling all tax obligations, such as filing returns, paying taxes, and claiming tax incentives. And I said earlier, who are those taxable persons that are required to register? Individuals, whether formal or informal, whether they undergo formal employment, they are in a formal employment, or they are self-employed. All individuals are expected to register. Businesses are expected to register. Whether such business is registered with the CAC or registered with any other body, they are expected to register. Then self-employed professionals, lawyers, architects, they are expected to register. Even NGOs, some think because NGOs in some instances don't pay tax, they are not required to register. Whether every person is liable to pay tax in Nigeria or not, such person or NGO or organization are expected to register and obtain tax identification. So we have Section 5 of the NTA, which also require government agencies to register. So it is not just an individual or private person. The government bodies, all MDAs, or the federal, state, or local government are expected to register for tax purpose and obtain a tax ID. You may be wondering, why do government pay tax? Why do they need to register? They engage in transactions such as they procure, they engage consultants, they also generate some taxable events in some instances, and that is why they pay VAT or they remit VAT. So the registration ensures proper remittance of the withholding taxes they collect, the VAT they collect, and the payee they deduct. And of course, it enhances the accountability and standardize their financial reporting across the government units. So it is also ensured that government is also a model in tax compliance. If we are expecting individual and private person to comply, government is also a model in compliance. And the law expects all MDAs to register to show example. When we still talking about registration, under 6, subsection 6, section 6, a non-resident person. So it's not just for resident persons in Nigeria. Also, a non-resident person who is an entity or individual that does any business or derive any income from Nigeria is also required under Section 6 to register and to obtain tax ID. So who does this apply to? It applies for businesses that supply taxable goods or services in Nigeria, e.g., for example, through e-commerce, consultancy, or projects, or when they collect contracts from government or individuals. Also apply to any non-resident that earns or derive income from Nigeria. Why do they need to do that? Because they pay tax. Our tax system practice what we call worldwide system. So it is not just residents that pay tax in Nigeria, non-residents also pay tax in Nigeria. So if they are going to pay tax, then they need an identification to comply with those requirements. The only non-residents that are not required to register are those, number one, those that are not doing any business in Nigeria. They don't have any engagement with Nigeria. They are not supplying any goods or service to Nigeria. Then they don't need to register. Then number 2 is those that generate only passive income. And when we're talking about passive income, we are looking at dividend, interest, royalties. So if those are the only thing they get from Nigeria, they are also not required to register. Then the process for issuing tax ID. So the question now would be, so if the law says I should register, how do I go about it? What is the requirement? Number one is when a business or persons when a business commences, when an entity commences business or for an individual, they are expected to approach a tax authority to apply for TIN registration with the tax authority. And when they do that, the tax authority must issue a tax ID upon such a request. And of course, as I said, this may involve a submission of relevant information from taxpayer. For instance, if it's a business, the tax authority will ask for some information. For instance, what is the business registration number? What is the business address? What are the contact telephone? And so on and so forth. So when such information are received, the expectation is that the tax authority must register such person. However, a tax authority may actually refuse to issue tax ID. Why? For example, there are limited circumstances. For example, when there is incomplete information, or there is wrong information, or there is duplicated information. For instance, if somebody is submitting a name or a business number, the RC number, that is the same as an RC number that is submitted by another company, it will be difficult for a tax authority to issue TIN in that instance. So in some instances, there may be difficulty in tax authority to issue a TIN. And in that instance, the tax authority may decline to issue TIN. But when they do that, they must, within 5 days, communicate to the taxpayer to give reason for the decision not to issue such tax ID. So, if you have applied for a tax ID, if no tax authority has communicated you within 5 days why you cannot open that tax ID, the expectation that tax ID must be, that company or person must be registered and the ID issued. And it's also possible for tax authority to automatically register a taxpayer without even requirement. So that section requires tax authority to proactively register a person when it has information that there is such particular person who has not registered. So for tax evaders, now the tax authority, when they get information from bank, from CAC, or any other place, they can automatically register that taxpayer and communicate the tax identification number to such person. And in section 7, as we continue the issuance and the management process, a notification will be generated for somebody that is automatically registered, as I said earlier, and that notification will be communicated to that person. And each taxpayer is entitled to only one valid tax ID. So the era of multiple ID is gone. We normally say one person, one vote. Now it is going to be one person, one tax ID. No more multiple ID. And what happens to those that already have multiple IDs? Worry, there's going to be unification of all multiple IDs. In fact, when our automation people speak after me, they will tell you the process they are going through to ensure that all multiple IDs are unified and the era of multiple IDs will no longer occur. And don't forget, I need to also let you know, a tax ID is personal and unique. It cannot be transferred. It cannot be sold. It cannot be used by another person. You can't say, borrow me your tax ID, let me use it, I will return it back. No, a tax ID is not transferable. And of course, this will ensure the integrity of the process and to be able to trace a taxpayer's record. What else do we have under Section 8? Mandatory display and use of tax ID. Now, every communication that a business may make or a person may make the tax ID must be indicated. Now, if you are a business, you are designing your letterhead. As you are putting your business name, you are putting your business contact, you must remember to put your tax ID. If you don't put the tax ID, it's actually an offense. So now, every communication originating, whether it's to to file tax returns, notices, correspondence, whether it's for business document and transaction, whether it's on your invoice. So your invoice must carry your tax ID. Your receipt must carry your tax ID. Your contract document must carry your tax ID. And all contracts with any level of government, not even level of government, all contracts with any person must carry your tax ID. As long as it carries your name, it must carry tax ID also. And this provision ensures that the tax ID becomes a universal compliance reference point in both private and public dealings. So, what does that say for our financial sector? If you are going to engage in banking, insurance, stockbroking, any financial service whatsoever, there's a voluntary mandate for you to request. So, any person, a financial institution, banking, insurance, and so on, are carrying businesses with that bank or financial institution must request and verify tax ID of that customer. So if you want to open a bank account, you want to ask for a loan, you want to do any transaction with the bank or your stockbroker or financial services provider, ensure that you are giving them your tax ID. But don't forget, we are not going to, there's no compliance body. It's not every time you go to your bank, they'll be asking for your tax ID. What this is actually saying that if you are a new taxpayer, the moment you get the tax ID and you give to them, that is once and for all. But if you are an existing taxpayer that has not submitted your thing before to your bank, when next you go to your transaction from next year, they are going to ask for that tax ID. But the moment you give it to them and they put it into their system, it is once and for all duty obligation. It's not every time you want to do your transaction, they'll be asking you, go and bring your tax ID. Now, section 9 on notification. It is possible for you to have a change of address. You can change your phone, you can lose your phone and you buy another one. If the business name can change, your email contacts can change, you can restructure. There can be merger, acquisition, and so on. Anytime you have this information, you must communicate or notify the relevant tax administration. Why? Because they allow them update your records. So when they update those records, then you are compliant. And if you fail to do that, there's penalty. So a taxpayer that has temporarily ceased business also is expected to communicate to the tax authority for a temporary suspension of the thing. So if you know you are not doing business, you can write the tax authority, I'm having issue for so and so period, I won't be doing business. And in that instance, the tax ID may be suspended. And when it's suspended, how is it done? Or what will happen? It will be classified as dormant. Of course, when you resume doing your business, you write to the revenue authority, they will reactivate such thing. You don't need to acquire a new thing. The moment you come back to business, the old thing will be reissued to you and you continue your business. So a deceased person or a liquidated company may be registered. Because if somebody is dead, why are we still keeping his thing? If a company is liquidated, why are we still keeping his thing? So for such categories, the thing may be deregistered. And for duplicated thing and so on, those things will be cancelled and harmonized as one. Penalties. What happens if I fail to register? There's an administrative penalty of 50,000 in the first month in which the failure occurs and 25,000 for each subsequent month in which the failure continues. You may be wondering, oh, that's maybe small. It is not small. Why? For any statutory body or company who awards a contract to an unregistered person, an administrative penalty of 55 million applies. So if I'm a company or a statutory body, what it means is that I must ask for your thing before I give you contract or do any transaction with you. Otherwise, I myself am liable to 5 million penalty. And what other challenge may you have? in respect of your withholding tax obligation, under the withholding tax regulation, for businesses that supply goods, services, or that are deriving any non-passive income that has no tax ID, the rate of deduction of withholding shall be twice the rate applicable to the income as applied in the schedule. So what means is that when others are paying withholding tax rate at 10%, if you don't have tax ID, you will pay at 20%, double. So you need to run away from that by registering and obtaining your tax ID. What other penalty or what other thing will you be deprived of? The exemption provided for small businesses from withholding tax obligation will not apply where the supplier has no valid tax ID. So what it means is that if I supply to a small business, ordinarily small business will not withhold from me because a small business is exempt from the obligation to withhold. But because I don't have tax ID, that small business will be required to withhold. That's another penalty for failure to register and obtain tax ID. So what are the opportunities for our taxpayers? Number one, you have to reduce. We are trying to reduce administrative duplication. So note, taxpayer, you are in for a good time with the revenue authorities. No more duplicated administrative processes. Then we are going to have accurate taxpayer database for policy planning and revenue forecasting. Ease for taxpayer, ease for administration also. Then ease of doing business, since one tax ID suffices for all tax obligations. What should you expect our taxpayers? Effective and efficient tax administration because of harmonized team across tax authorities. You are going to get reduced administrative complexity. There's going to be enhanced digital interaction with tax authorities and taxpayers. And of course, a standardized enforcement framework and penalty system for non-compliance of registration. And last slide, recommendation for taxpayers. If I'm a taxpayer, what should I do? I will quickly run and register and get the tax ID. And after obtaining it, I will use that tax ID for all tax-related interactions and fulfill all administration obligations, including filing my returns and payment of my taxes. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, our erudite speaker, Mr. Kendi Kadishomo, for those. I'm sure you delved into the law, and he has dug even more than what we knew was in the law. Thank you very much. We will now be going to other speakers because this is technology driven. What is the efforts of FIRS? And we'll now go to the efforts of the Joint Tax Board. This is some we say harmonization, seamless harmonization. When we call someone to have, we should be able to speak. All tax authorities should be able to speak with one voice and have an harmonized system so that taxpayers can have a good day. So I will now go to the Tax Automation Department of FIRS to speak to us about the efforts being put in place to ensure a seamless transition into the tax ID from the tax what we have on ground today. Mr. Mike Adoga or his representative on the call, you have the floor, please. Hello? Is he on the call? Okay, if it's not ready, so that we can save time, I can see Alima Abubakar on the call. Please, let's hear from you. Let's start with you. Alima?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay,
Good
go
morning.
ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'll just take a moment to share my screen.
Yeah, your screen is live.
Okay, thank you.
Can you
Okay,
go to
thank you.
Can you go to presentation mode so we can? Okay, yes, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We all know that the tax ID has been introduced to modernize and streamline tax administration in Nigeria. We know that we have multiple taxpayer identities issued by federal, JTB, and subnational revenue authorities. The tax ID will eliminate this complexity by ensuring a national unified system. This presentation will focus on the implication of this reform on tax compliance, revenue generation, and the broader goal of building a sustainable tax culture in Nigeria. I will not dwell on the legal basis. Mr. Kenge has spoken very well to this. So I will speak more on the expected impact of the tax ID. So the first impact is widening the tax net. The tax ID initiative is expected to integrate millions of previously unregistered individuals, particularly from the informal sector, into the national tax system. This will significantly broaden the tax base and enhance government revenue. If you're a business or an income earner in Nigeria and you've not previously been registered, with this tax ID initiative, tax ID will be issued to you seamlessly. The awareness of being recognized by the tax authority will naturally motivate taxpayers to regularize their tax affairs. So in this instance, it will promote compliance, voluntary compliance. Next, we have simplified taxpayer registration. The taxpayer initiative and the tax ID initiative will greatly ease administrative process for taxpayers by removing the need to physically register. Taxpayers will require minimal effort and inconvenience in getting the tax IDs. But still, in some cases, taxpayers will still have to present themselves at the relevant tax authorities to carry out certain updates, maybe to their phone numbers or tax residency, and so on. But because tax ID is expected to be an automated process, it should be issued automatically and seamlessly using either the NIN for individuals and RC number for non-individuals. We also, this initiative will also eliminate the instance of multiple TINs. It will address the existing challenge of multiple TINs issued by different tax authorities and ensure a unified and widely accepted identification for transactions across both federal and subnational levels. The tax ID initiative, a major advantage of the tax ID initiative is it will consolidate all previously sorry, I didn't know my camera was off. A major advantage of the tax ID initiative is it will consolidate all previously issued tax numbers, TINs associated with taxpayers across all revenue authorities into one single unified record. We all know that a major concern for all revenue authorities and taxpayers even is what will happen to our tax data, our historical data. The GRB and NRS are working together to develop mechanisms to link existing records to the corresponding tax ID, enabling tax authorities to maintain accurate records of each taxpayer's compliance history. This will ensure that all historical data is accessible, allowing tax authorities to maintain accurate profile of each taxpayer's compliance. With this, taxpayers are rest assured that there is continuity and no historical data will be lost. Next, currently, TIN verification is fragmented across multiple platforms managed by different various tax authorities. The Tax ID initiative will introduce a central system that will allow taxpayer information to be verified through a single unified platform. This will also eliminate the inconvenience of undergoing repetitive validation procedures across different entities and locations. By streamlining this process and initiative, so we are streamlining this process and initiative. It will reduce confusion, but also strengthen but also strengthen data accuracy and consistency. This seamless verification mechanism is expected to foster greater trust in the system and encourage voluntary compliance. The tax ID system will also improve data sharing and interagency collaboration. The tax ID system will facilitate seamless data exchange among federal, state tax authorities and financial institutions, other government agencies, by integrating taxpayer records into a unified platform. This will remove data silos and strengthen interagency coordination and collaboration. With this, we will have more accurate tracking of taxpayer activities, minimize duplication of efforts, and enhance enforcement mechanisms. Consequently, taxpayers are more inclined to comply, knowing that their financial and tax-related information is consistently monitored and verified across relevant touchpoints. So, in conclusion, the Tax ID initiative marks a major milestone in Nigerians' tax administration reform by unifying taxpayer records on a single platform. It simplifies registration, enhances verification, and promotes transparency across tiers of government. I did not speak to how the system will work because the tax automation department will handle that. But we need to be clear that tax ID will be generated seamlessly and automatically. We'll be leveraging identity management agencies that already have established the identities of individuals who have already pre-registered them. So using these IDs, the tax ID will be seamlessly generated automatically. And that's why I mentioned taxpayers that have previously not registered will be in the tax net. So this reform will not only reduce the burden on taxpayers, but will strengthen compliance through improved data integration, streamlined processes, and mandatory linkage to financial and contractual. Its success will hinge on continued public awareness, technology investment, and collaboration among stakeholders. And it will lay a foundation for a more transparent, inclusive, and accountable tax system that supports national growth and economic resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajia Alima Dalil Abubakar, for that presentation. Though we lost your slide at the moment, but it was clear. Your presentation was clear, and we now know that the subnationals, which are the state tax administration, are also on board on this tax ID. It's not just about the federal. It's not about the FRS. It's not something really done for the FRS. And we know from your presentation that you're working together, both the states and the FRS are working under the joint task force to have a common and harmonized identification system for all taxpayers. So whichever door you enter from, whether it's from the state or from the federal, it will link you to one tax system. And so we're calling on the Tax Automation Department of the FRS to now make their presentation. They will let us know how this integration, how this harmonization is going to be working technologically. So I yield the floor for you. You have the floor, please. Thank you, and make your presentation as sharp as possible.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody on the call. Mr. Mike Adoga is unavoidably absent, but I should have his assurance that tax ID project is very important to him. And so I'm representing him. My name is Adele Chochara. I'll be presenting these few slides. So we're looking at tax ID as an implication for tax compliance. As earlier spoken, the previous presenter, Mr. Karibe and Ajia Alima, had spoken about this section of the laws and why and what it does. The tax ID harmonizes all other identifications that have been used in tax administration over the years. So your SBR IDs, your FRS ID, your JTB ID, tax IDs are now going to be harmonized into one that will be called the tax ID. And that's also the framework defined in the law. So the objective of our presentation is not just only to tell you, because everybody has spoken about it, to streamline the process, eliminate the duplication, enhance. But we'll be looking at this slide that says that how do you relate your FRS thing and the new tax ID that we will be getting. Now, the FRS ID was meant for taxpayers that have to account to us or have their tax administration to FIRS. And so any taxpayer who comes into our system will need the tax ID. But now, with the tax, we need the FIRS thing, I mean to say. But now, with the tax ID, once you are a taxpayer, either as an individual or a non-individual, you must have a tax ID. So you do not necessarily have to be an FRS taxpayer or a state board of internal revenue taxpayer to get a tax ID. Tax ID is mandated by law, and as Ajia Alima has mentioned, it works seamlessly. So I'm just going to put more context into it. If today you have an NIN, you would automatically, using the NIN, get a tax ID. You will not be required to go to any tax office or tax agency or authority to get a tax ID. It's just at the request on a portal that will be shared when it is ready. We are at about 90% completion. Once that portal is made available, every taxpayer who has a NIN would get a thing automatically. If you have an RC or you have a BN, a number issued by CAC, you would equally get a tax ID. And I'm sure you listen to other presenters wherein MDAs and other entities that are not registered by Corporate Affairs Commission, that's the CAC, they would equally be issued a tax ID. So the tax ID issuance or creation does not require you visiting any tax office, and it is almost automated once you have these foundational IDs in place. And so going forward from that point, if you, for instance, if you're going to be a newly registered company and you're coming on board now, you just got your CAC today, all you will need to do is go to that portal and just put in your RC and tell us you are a BN, and it will automatically generate a tax ID for you. For those that are already in the tax administration system, either of FRS or the SBIR, all of that work is being done to make it seamless. Just put in your RC and all of that, and you get a tax ID. So you would not need to go to a tax authority, do some kind of registration, do anything of that nature to get a tax ID. That's the position, and that's what we're working on. Why do we need MDAs to have tax ID? Because government entities, by the Section 5 of the law, says they are required. I'm sure we've seen that in Mr. Kennedy's presentation. However, to enable MDAs remit withholding seamlessly. So VAT deduction, withholding deduction, payee deduction, and the issuance of such receipts are now almost seamlessly automated, enabling accountability and standardizing the reporting across all government units. So that's one other benefit that we need to throw out there, so that our taxpayers know that when they engage MDAs, their withholding taxes are seamlessly identified, receipted, and all of that flowing into tax administration systems. So what was the process of the issuance? The law says that JRB, in collaboration with the federal and the state boards of internal revenues, or board of revenues or tax authorities would work jointly and collaboratively issue tax ID using a single identification principle, where each taxpayer will not only be uniquely identified, but that tax ID cannot be transferred to another entity, either a person or a corporate entity. It would subsume all the other IDs, all the FRS, SBR, subsume them and become just one ID. So there won't be multiple IDs. So you go to your state board of internal revenue and you want to do tax, just put in your tax ID. And the tax ID identifies you at that level, identifies you at the federal level, and you're good to go. So that's the whole story about the tax ID. I put it into more context as regarding what the taxpayer needs to do, and showing to us how it enhances compliance of taxes and the administration thereof. Thank you for the time, and that brings my presentation to an end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ojora, and the main crux of your presentation. You have assured taxpayers that this will be a seamless electronic-based registration. I'm sure there's going to be questions that will follow, and I'll be expecting responses as those questions come up. I will ask you few questions. Today, I'll ask few questions. One of them, the first one, I have seen that people have asked. They say, I have a TIN. Do I need to register afresh for a tax ID? So if I have a TIN at either the federal level or at the state level, do I need to register for afresh for another thing? Let Mr. Ojora please answer this question fast before we go, because I know this question is going to form part of everyone's discussion. So can we hear from you?
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so to answer this question, in my presentation, I mentioned that it's a seamless process. So if you have a tax ID, you do not need to literally do anything to get a, if you have a TIN rather, you do not need anything to get a tax ID. All you would need to do is to go to the portal and put in there your RC, as it were, and then indicate whether you are a corporate, a BN, that's a business name, or a limited liability by shares. That there are options there. You just pick one of it and put the appropriate RC number, and it automatically generates a tax ID for you, which is going to be unique. That's if it's not pre-generated. So for those taxpayers that are active, complying taxpayers, their tax ID are going to be auto-generated. But for every other person, just go into the platform and the tax ID is generated. So you don't need to do any special registration other than engage the portal.
Okay, thank you.
And that tax ID is there's a system in place. Sorry, sir. There's a system in place that automatically makes that tax ID and the relevant data about the taxpayer available to all the other stakeholders in this tax administration ecosystem. And
okay,
that will be
thank you very
flagged up
much.
when it is. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So you also told us that a portal is going to be ready soon, and we will be expecting that, so it makes things easy for us. I would like you to write some questions down, which I've already received. The question number 1 says, since NIN is required to generate tax ID, how will non-resident get an ID since they do not have a NIN? Oh, I'm sure you mentioned some other identifier. I would like you answer that question too. The second one, he said when an entity incorporates at the CAC, it gets a TIN on the certificate. Yet, it still has to go to the FRS to activate the TIN. Tax Promise does not release the OTP for activating TIN. Which way forward? So I would like to hear about that too. Also start that, except for business. And this one, except for business and individual taxpayer that are already at TIN, tax number, okay, you've already answered this one. So what is the process of harmonizing existing TIN? You've already answered this one too. So, okay, on penalties for failure to register, when is the first month of failure and subsequent month with respect to individual? So, Mr. Kaji Shomo, you help us have a shot at this question. He said, for penalty for failure to register, when will this penalty start counting? Then someone has asked a question. I have a CAC, I have a business name registered with the CAC. After registering the company for TIN, with FRS for VAT returns, should I also register my own TIN from the State Internal Revenue Service? He said it's a business name registered. Does it need to go back to the state to also register? Aside from registering with the FRS, maybe we may have to speak about today and the future, because this is an existing business. So maybe Mr. Jora can take a shot. JTB can also take a shot at that question. Okay. Someone asked, I think this one has been answered. They didn't wait. Okay, it says the tax ID as discussed is the same as TIN. Does this mean that the TIN processed by my company will no longer, I think we have answered it, will no longer be useful under the new administration? Does my company need to register? We have answered this question. So I think, okay, someone is asking, as an employee, I have a taxpayer ID with FRS for my payee. Remittances, is it still valid? I need to register for new ID. I'm not sure employee has a taxpayer ID with FRS. I think, well, Mr. Kennedy, you can also explain that one. An employee said he has a taxpayer ID with FRS. Will he have to now go to the state So it depends on who the person is. So I think I'm going to stop here for those few questions. Okay. Okay, someone say good afternoon. It says from Edu R. Say I need clarification on the rumor surrounding number 10, no bank account access being touted. Please, what correlation does it have with tax ID if NIN is a unique factor for change? So anybody can take a shot at this. He's talking about a bank account and TIN and tax ID. So I think these are the questions we have for now. Let's quickly get the answers to this question. Then we open the floor for just 3 people to ask questions. So whoever is ready first, Mr. Akadishomo, are you ready with your answers?
Maybe I should take the first shot. Let me start with the last question, which is bank account access. As I explained in my presentation, if you have opened an account and you have provided a tax identification number under the existing rule, you as it has been explained, you don't need to do any other thing. Your account continues to run, and in fact, seamlessly you can generate tax ID, and you don't need to do another registration, and you don't need to go to your bank to do another registration with your bank. Now, the issue is for those that are maintaining a bank account that have not supplied a tax ID or that don't have a thing under the existing rule. Those ones are expected to generate a tax ID and give to their banker. Now, to go to the question, if you have not done that, will you be able to access your account? No, because from January 1, 2026, the expectation is that bank will, as part of their KYC process, will require you to update your account. For instance, let's assume you change address. The requirement is that you update your account. So the same thing for tax identification number or tax ID. From January 1, 2026, you are expected to approach your bank. That is, if you don't currently have a tax identification number in your account. So from January 1, you are expected to approach your bank and provide the thing. Does that mean your account will be blocked from January 1? No, that's not what I'm saying. It depends on what tax authority or government want to do, whether there's going to be a timeline or a specific time that will be given to taxpayer to comply. However, for me, and every one of us, we can start the process even now without waiting for January 1, 2026. But that rule starts from January 1, 2026, when the law takes effect. From that day, you're expected to regularize your account. Does that mean your account will be denying from January 1? That is not what I'm saying. It depends on the time government want to give for people to comply with the rule. Then for employee ID, I mean, you already have an ID when with FRS. You need to do the same for state. As has been explained by our ICT experts, you will not need to go to the state to go and register again. And that is the essence of the change we're talking about. Under the present rule, if you register with FRS, you still need to go to the state to register. But under the new dispensation from January 1, 2026, it will no longer be a requirement. The moment you register with any of the tax administration, you automatically register with all, because they will now harmonize that thing, because it's the same portal they will be using. So the moment you log your details in one portal, the other portal will see that details. So you don't need to duplicate by going to the state. And the last question for me is for penalty for individual. When will a penalty starts. I mean, the first month of failure. Now, I expect tax administration will likely issue guideline or circular because I can only speak from what is clearly in the law for now. The law specifically say from first month of failure. For a person that are existing presently, for you and I, because we are existing, so from January 1, 2026, if I want to take the law literally, if you don't register and if you don't provide your TIN, you don't register your TIN by your tax ID by January 1, 2026, that becomes your fourth month of failure. Because don't forget, law will not apply retroactively. So if this law is started on January 1, 2026, then January 1, 2026 becomes the first month. So, and don't forget, it is only for those that don't have ID. For me personally, I already have an ID because I'm an employee of Federal Inland Revenue Service and I pay my taxes. So I'm already registered. So even that January 1, 2026 is irrelevant for me because I already have a tax ID. This rule is for those that as at that January 1, 2026, they don't have a tax ID. That becomes their fourth month. And for those category of people, they have to comply that first month, January 1, 2026. And if they don't comply as at 31st, that becomes the first month of failure. So this is the explanation based on the wordings of the law, depending on what a concession any tax administration may later give by circular or guideline. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, for answering those questions. Mr. Jora, let's hear yours. I think I have one or two questions.
Thank you, sir. So my response will be with regards to the non-residency, saying how do they get their own tax ID? Now, if you recall in my presentation, I said if you already have records with the FIRS, we have a database, those will automatically be issued tax ID. And as soon as the portal is launched, all of this will become very clear. You would see the areas wherein and what is required of you to present as a unique foundational ID with which a tax ID will be generated. Under such are the free trade zone, the MDAs, the non-resident, all of those fall into that category, and they will be automatically, just the same way the individuals and the corporate entities will get their tax ID. The second question has to do with the SBIR, the LIRS. I just want to pick that question. Someone asked a question saying he has an LIRS ID and that would he need to register for a new tax ID? So if you have an LIRS tax ID, which is your TIN, there's a system already in place presently that LIRS would connect to and automatically get your tax ID. But you would ensure that you have your NIN at that other end. So if your NIN was one of the data collected at the point of registration with LIRS, then your tax ID is pre-generated or seamlessly generated. But if it's not, then you would need to go there, or their system would need to be upgraded to ensure there is an NIN field, because without an NIN, we would not identify an individual as much as to be able to generate a tax ID. I hope that answers the question clearly.
Yeah, thank you. There was a question about registration of business and issuing TIN at the CAC and also the activation. So it's just you giving us a little background on what happens. He said, what's the way forward?
Okay. Okay, so if you already have what's it called, a CAC number, and you have a TIN associated with it presently, you don't need to do anything to get a tax ID. You really just as I've said, all you really need to do is to go to the portal and put in your RC. Unless in the case where there is a merger, and in which case, if it is, there are two strategies to say if one is subsumed into another, and then so the mother company RC, and the tax ID would now be perpetually used going forward. But if the two are formed into one and there's a new company registered with CAC, that means there's a new RC, that new RC will get a new tax ID. I hope that is clear. I just wanted to use those languages so that everybody on the call understands. If one of the entities in the merger is subsumed by the bigger one, that's what is called merger,
Acquisition.
the merger,
Ah.
and the acquisition or merger. Yeah, that's so you get one tax ID. You continue to use the mother tax ID. But if the two are becoming a new entity, that means there's a CAC process that is required that will give a new RC, then the new RC must be assigned a new tax ID.
Okay, thank you very much. Ajia Lima, is there any of the question that you want to give a shot at?
Yes, thank you. I think they've answered most of the questions very clearly. I just want to add that we need to be clear that tax ID is going to be linked to our foundational identities. Foundational identities meaning NIN, meaning CAC. So if you're an individual, we all have our NINs. So automatically you will have a tax ID. If you already have an existing TIN with any revenue authority, that existing TIN will be linked to your tax ID. We are looking at this as a phase-by-phase approach, where gradually we will phase out all the other TINs, where only tax ID will stand as your national identity for tax. So, of course, we would not, do away with historical data. So, tax authorities will still be able to link their taxpayers with whatever IDs they have currently to the tax ID. So gradually, all that will be phased out, and then you will be using your tax ID. So I just want everybody to just understand that as long as you register as a business, you have to register with CAC. As an individual, you have to have an NIN. So that will be the foundation identity used to generate your tax ID.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be closing very soon, but I would like to give either one or two persons the opportunity to ask a live question. And so if you are on board and you'd like to ask a live question, I would like to see your hands, raise your hands so I can see so many people rushing to do that. Okay, I think I'll start with the first person I can see on this call. Can we give Ajara opportunity to ask question? Ajara, ICT support, please give Ajara the floor to ask question. Ajara, after Ajara, I would also like to do, if Ajara has been given the opportunity, please go ahead, mute Ajara, please. ICT support, please. Ajara, give Ajara. After that, I can see Ayokanmi Ogunwumiju. Are they on the call? Okay, Ayokanmi is the.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please, and ask your question.
Yes. One of the, great presentation so far. So I have a few questions, actually.
Can you introduce yourself and let's know you a bit, please?
Yes, my name is Ayokanmi Ogunwumiju. I am Director ICT, FCT, IRS.
Oh, good.
So for me, this is a very important engagement because it helps clarify a lot of issues around taxpayer identification. At the moment, we have deviated from issuing out JTB TINs. And now we are essentially JTB TINs will now become tax IDs. Now, I wanted to understand what the entry point looks like
for a taxpayer. So if we onboard a taxpayer now, someone who hasn't got any form of tax identifier on our platform, is there some sort of integration with JTB/NRS that will allow the taxpayer journey to begin at this end, but automatically generate a corresponding taxpayer ID on the NRS or JTB system down the road? And can we outline a step-by-step administrative flow, both for individuals and corporates, showing points of data capture, how this is verified, how this is validated, both for the issuance of tax ID and the state tax ID that you would like to recommend? And what do we do about existing legacy taxpayers who have existing records? I mean, we have taxpayers in the case of corporates who might have up to 4 existing identifiers, whether they be state-issued identification numbers, then JTB-issued numbers, then FRS-issued numbers, and then we now have a situation now where you now want to give them a tax ID too as well. How do we merge all these records in a very neat and tidy way?
Thank you very much. We get all your questions. You are an expert, and I'm sure that definitely this is the second person in the ICT that's asking such question, and I'm sure that the JTB and the FRS will definitely call you guys to a meeting later to actually give you guys an insight into. You heard they said they're developing a portal. I'm sure once the portal is completed, this will be done. But of course, I'm not speaking for them. They're going to answer this question, and I'm sure they've noted that. So that's why I'm answering, so that someone of your status don't ask the same question. Thank you. We understand the concern. I'll give Lady Ifoma Obieri. Can you give Lady Ifoma the floor to ask this question? Ask a question. Lady Ifoma, ICT, please help me look for Lady Ifoma. Dr. Lady Ifoma Obieri, can you give her the floor? Okay, Lady Ifoma, please go ahead.
Hello. Yes, good
Yeah.
afternoon. Good afternoon,
Good
everyone. My name is Lady Dr. Ifoma Obieri, the principal partner of Ishiden Audits. I want to appreciate FRS for coming up with this conversation this morning. It was a good one. But I have a very serious concern. When a presentation was going on, a question was raised concerning the implementation on when this is going to start. And somebody was talking about having this team being started by next year, January, and the failure to comply attracts a penalty or attracts anything. So my own suggestion is that I stayed in Onitsha, Anambra State, and I know that we have various FRS offices in Onitsha. And most of the taxpayers here don't even know what is happening, although we are doing our bit to pass the information. But I think it would be good if the FRS as a body assigned some tax to these various offices where they can assemble all these taxpayers and have a conversation with them. Let them really understand what is happening, because majority are still operating at the dark. I know that ignorance is not an excuse in law, but at least we need to be properly guided. And I know that FRS can do that. Please, I want to suggest that this can be carried out to achieve a maximum cooperation between the taxpayers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma. I assure you that every sensitization will be done. And we already said taxpayers who already have a team, do not need to do anything. So we're going to, and I assure you more sensitization will be done. And please, in your capacity to, since you are an intermediary, help us also share the news and ensure that your taxpayers, your clients, have their tax ID. Thank you. Oh, since Ajara, okay, we couldn't get Ajara to be on the floor. Can you give Isa Mohammed the opportunity to speak? Isa Mohammed. Isa U Mohammed. Isa U Mohammed. Have you been able to access Isa Mohammed? Okay, if you can't get Isa Mohammed, can we look at Dr. Shamsuddin Kabir Nakaura?
Hello.
Dr. Shamsuddin. Okay, go ahead,
Hello.
please, and ask the question. Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Dr. Shamsuddin, go ahead.
Yes, okay. Can you hear me?
Please,
Can you hear
ICT,
me?
remove those who have ICT, please remove those who have asked question and are
Hello?
still on call. Remove them, please. Mute
Hello.
them. Go ahead,
Hello.
Dr. Shamsuddin, we can hear you.
Hello. Yes. Hello. Hello. Good afternoon.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Shamsuddin from Kano 2 ETO. So I'm talking about this. When is it exactly that we're going to? Because taxpayers have been asking us about what time can they come now and register. So, but nothing is said yet to us. So I want more clarification on that, on the date, actual date that we're going to start this. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to take a last one. And can we take Joseph Ogundeyi? Can I take Joseph Ogundeyi on the call, please? ICT support. Okay. Joseph, go ahead, please. Is Joseph there? Okay. In the absence of that, please, the floor is open. Mr. Jora, please, can you answer some of these questions I've been asked?
Okay, about the startup time or what, so one of the questions was, when is it going live and how do we intend to engage? Like we've mentioned earlier, we are collaborating with the JTB, so all of that is in the pipeline. As soon as we are ready to do that, it will be all over in the news. People will get to know it, will engage stakeholders. So for the cutoff date or the timeline, is not, we will communicate. That's for that. Now, for the mention of taxpayers coming to the tax office to register, I thought we made that very clear. Taxpayers would not need to do another type of registration or some sort of registration. We would, in course of our engagement, engage all the relevant stakeholders to onboard them on the process, on what is required. But one thing is certain, if you are a taxpayer on your this call, you do not have your foundational data in any of these tax administration. When I say foundational data, I'm referring to your NIN or your CAC details, or you are in the third category that I mentioned of earlier, where we have the FZE, the MDAs, the non-resident. You need to have that data in the tax administration system of your interest. When I say interest, LIRS, Oyo State, Zamfara, and all of that, FRS, you ensure that is there. And I'm sure for those on Tax Pro for FRS, you have your RC. So invariably, if you're on tax pro for a FRS taxpayer, you have automatically a tax ID. I can't speak for the SBI, but if you have a JTB team, we're working with the JTB team to ensure that anybody with the JTB team equally gets a tax ID seamlessly. So the worry about doing a registration, one of the reasons why we're doing this engagement, and I want to really appreciate the team behind this, is to educate us, allay our worries and fear. I know somebody mentioned bank accounts being impacted by not having a tax ID. No. Your tax ID, and just know that if you have a NIN and that NIN is in any system in today in Nigeria, that system would get your tax ID. So if you, at the point where you're registering with a bank, you supplied your NIN, then you have your tax ID. Just have it like that. You do not need to go back to the bank and tell them, I need my tax ID or this is my tax ID. The bank will automatically get your tax ID. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. For the JTB, is there any question that have not been responded to? I know Dora's tried to round up them up. Then also there's a question before you respond. Someone asked, if you are a business enterprise, can I use my personal tax ID for my business? You know, someone who has a business name, can he use his own personal tax ID in his name for the business?
Can I respond to that?
Yes, you can respond to that question.
So if you are a business owner, you cannot use your personal tax ID for your business. Your business is a separate entity and it would have its own tax ID. You are just maybe a part of that entity, maybe a director or something, but you can't use your personal ID for your
No, it
business.
means a sole proprietor. A sole proprietor, which is just one person, has a business name, business enterprise, he runs one.
Okay, so if it's a sole proprietor, then yes. Yes. I wanted to address the question from FCT IRS, the director.
Okay, go ahead.
He was concerned about the flow of tax ID to revenue authorities. So the flow is the National Tax ID platform. JRB will be integrated to that platform. So tax ID will flow through JRB administrative system and will be disseminated to all the revenue authorities. That's on the subnational level. And then also, we expect revenue authorities to still continue with their admin system. You will not need to do any physical registration. I know we're clear on that. You will not need to register physically any taxpayer. The tax ID portal will provide the ID required. But on your end, as revenue authorities, you may still need to do administrative work, of course. You may need to update residency address, you may need to update phone number or certain things that you may need to update to do your administrative work. You can still do from your systems. But the tax ID national platform will be solely responsible for disseminating the tax ID.
Thank you. So someone also asked, this, I think this should be the last. Now, asks if can a taxpayer at a click of the button know if their foundational data exists with the tax administrator? So they're asking, can we know whether my NIN is associated to my system? So can I know that? Maybe Mr. Who want to take a shot? Mr. Kende. Okay, Mr. Kende has one question, I think that was supposed to be answered. After that, let Mr. Kende answer his own first, then go ahead. Mr. Akaishamo.
Thank you. I first want to respond to one question that says whether sole proprietorship may need to register. Okay. I think the thing of the sole proprietorship may be different from the TIN of the owner. And the reason is there are two obligations that sole proprietorship carried out that individual does not carry out. For instance, a sole proprietorship, the business now, may have employees. So such employees we have to, the sole proprietorship will have to file pay returns in respect of those employees. Then sole proprietorship, which is a business, we also have VAT obligation, which individual will not have. So, and the expectation is that during filing of returns, forms will be dropped automatically for such IDs of businesses for them to be able to fill their VAT returns or pay returns as the case may be. So there may be need for separate things for individual and sole proprietorship. And I said earlier, the fact that somebody has a TIN doesn't mean the person is paying tax. Somebody may be exempt from tax, but still need a TIN. So sole proprietorship are actually not going to pay tax, but they may have need for TIN for the purpose of complying with pay deduction and remittance, as well as a VAT remittance. Then the second is to respond to Dr. Lady Ifoma. Thanks, Madam, for the question. And I remember when I was responding, I specifically says I'm responding based on the provision of the law. So I understand your concern, and which is well appreciated, but I was only responding based on the provision of the law. And I clearly said that revenue authorities may later come with regulation or administrative circulars to clarify how they want to, or how they will implement, or any concession they want to give in respect of that. But I was only responding to the wording, exact wording of the law. And has also been explained by our ICT person, such rule will not most likely capture many taxpayers, because many taxpayers under the existing rule have seen those that are employed, they pay deduction from their salary, which is remitted. Most of them, as explained, they have national identification number, which has already been supplied to their banks. So they already have a TIN generated for them. So this challenge will only apply to few that has no information inputted in any database for which their TIN may be automatically generated. Because when I was speaking, I said the law allowed tax authorities to automatically generate TIN. So as many that have information in databases that TIN can be automatically generated for them, this penalty provision will not apply to them. So the penalty provision will only apply to those that TIN could not be generated for them, and at the same time, they have refused or failed to register. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It simply means that those who are under the radar, that cannot be found anywhere, may be the one. Well, most of them are deliberately hiding. So what it simply means is that come out and come clean and comply with the law. But those who are already in the business circle may actually easily be found and might even have TIN without their knowledge. So it will be important for them to also seek to ensure they have a tax ID. Thank you very much. There's the last question I asked about how to get to be sure your foundational data is already in your profile. We'd like Adia Lima to answer that question. If I'm an individual, how am I sure that whether the JTB portal or your tax ID portal already have my foundational data?
Okay, thank you for that question. So we need to be clear that the tax ID portal will be speaking directly with NIMC, as well as CAC. So your NIN will be used to generate tax ID. So definitely your NIN will be linked to your tax ID, because we cannot generate the tax ID without your NIN.
Thank you very much. So it means that there's going to be a synchronization already. So it means that everyone's who has a need, another valid identification are already on the system. Thank you very much for today's session. We'll be closing right away, and because of our time, we'll have to go out of so we'll be closing right away. But before we close, I'd like to acknowledge a few people who have made today's webinar a success, starting from our Chief Executive and the Chairman of the FIRS, Zach Adedeji, PhD, for the opportunity given to this and to do Madi, the CD Special Duties Group. Thank you very much, Dr. Lovett Ononuga, the Director of Taxpayer Service. Well, thank you. Dr. Abdullah Ismaila, Director of Communication and Liaison Department, for bringing together this initiative. Thank you very much. Mr. Mike Adoga, Acting Director of Tax Automation. Thank you. Mr. Kehinde Kajeshomo, our erudite speaker. Thank you. Mrs. Alima Abubakar. Thank you. We have others in the background. We have Ajia Fantajab. We have Mr. Oladapo Babatunde. Thank you very much. We have Shetima Imam, our ICT support. We have Onye Nadi. Thank you very much. And if I've not called your name, you are even more important. Well, thank you for every role you have played. And in closing, we will be closing right away. And we'll be closing right away as we have exhausted everything. If we have not answered your question, we will ask that you can still send them in for us to give a shot at them. A survey was also launched earlier. We expect that this survey, you've answered those questions. If you have not, please try to do so. And to round everything up, we'd like to call on Ajia Ms. Fanta Jam Liman to give us a closing remark. We have 1 minute, please. Thank you. Ajia Liman. Are you on the call? Ajia, are you on the call? Okay, so Ajia Liman. Okay, Ajia Liman. Okay, probably it's not on the call. Do we have Mr. Oladapo on the call? Do you have Mr. Oladapo on the call? If you're on the call, someone should help us just take the closing as we log out. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I also, let me remember some other crew from the Joint Tax Board. Collins Nwosu, thank you. We know you've been doing some work at the background. We've been communicating, and thank you very much. And every other person I've not called. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. I think we'll be closing right away. Or is any of those I've called for closing still on call? So in the absence of none of them, I'll say thank you very much for today's. It has been a wonderful session. And as you sign up, thank you and have a blessed day.
Mm-hmm.